welcome to the Greater Call podcast, a special edition of this Greater Call. And it's special because I've got with me a gospel singer, songwriter, chart topper, someone who I've come to know through music. And now here we are, Josh Baldwin, you're on the show with me, man. What a thrill. It's great to have you.
Oh, this is such an honor to be a part of this. So yeah, thanks for having me.
The thrill is all mine. Okay, when I reached out to Josh the first time, and a reminder, please interact with us via social. The handles there are at The Greater Call on Instagram and X, of course, on YouTube. Search and subscribe. And while you're out there, look for Josh Baldwin as well. The inspiration for the show was to kind of summarize where we were through our first 7 editions of this Greater Call podcast. Of course, with this being a place where you can come and you can get lessons on life and leadership and just how to be a great man or woman of God from some of the heroes of our faith. So, Josh, before we dive into Joseph and David and Paul and these guys we've covered so far and get your take, I'm going to make a few statements to you. These are your statements. And I just want you out of the spirit within. I want you just to respond. Sentence or two, whatever it might be. And that'll sort of kick us off, okay?
Okay.
First off, here's a statement. I know who I am because I know who you are. Yeah. Have at it.
Well, I've sang that statement maybe more than any other statement that I've sang in the last year. Mm-hmm. And that one, honestly, it really hit home like a year or two after I wrote that song, which is, we're coming up on 3 years ago since I wrote those words. And I'll tell you, when it hit, I heard my kids singing it in my car. I was just playing this bad recording of a new song. And we kept playing it through. We were on a road trip, and I'm just playing it through over and over, just trying to figure out if it was good or not. And I heard my at that time 10 and 11-year-old singing those lines, and I thought, that's when it hit me, like the power behind just saying that is like the more I learn about the Father, the more I learn about the Lord, the more He reveals who I am and who I'm truly called to be. And in this day and age, when I hear my kids singing something like that in the back, I'm like, there's so many influences on the outside coming in, trying to tell us who we're supposed to be or who we're not, all of these things. And if we can just ourselves do this, but also like teach our kids to listen to the Father's voice, and not only do that, but find His voice in the scriptures and hone into who He is, then they'll start being who they are, will be revealed to them. And so that, and every time I hear those lines, every time I sing those lines, I think about that moment that it just like hit me that, okay, this is something that not only I feel like I need to sing and get out, but this is something that I'm going to be singing over and praying over my family for years.
Well, for what it's worth, that statement, amongst others that you've made in songs, have hit me real hard too. And I think, the Lord's ways are mysterious. We know this. And it's amazing to me how I've listened to gospel music for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, the song Made for More comes on the radio, and I quickly download it. And now when I'm on airplanes or wherever I go, I listen to this all of the time. And there was something, the inspiration for all of this. I didn't know it was going to be this Greater Call podcast. I thought it was going to be my other On the Mark golf show, where you sang, I wasn't made to be tending a grave.
Yeah.
I was called by name, born and raised into life again. Yeah. And I was like, this is a golf lesson, not just a life lesson, because it's such a mindset shifter. And we'll get into Gideon, our first hero, here in a minute. Because think of all the folks that are tending graves, stuff that they passed, and they're still busy, as you say, tending a grave instead of going, I was called by name. It's time now to walk into who I was, because I am made for more.
Right. That's so good. I need to remember that in my own golf game, because I need to learn how to move on from those bad holes.
Okay. Well, in the interest of doing this, let's get into it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is out of order because the folks, if you're listening to this the first time, we are 7 episodes of the Greater Call In. The first one was called Dream Again with Joseph. The second one was Perfectly Human with David. The third one was Unshakable Mission, Paul. Then there was Faithful Existence, Noah. And then Learned Leader, Joshua. And yes, I put Joshua ahead of Moses in this. The next one was Timid Hero, Gideon, where we're going to start with now. And then the 7th one up to now was the Obedient Wanderer in Moses. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to make an observation of what I drew from Gideon, and then I want you to respond with yours, please. Okay. My pastor Kyle, who does the show with me, when we talked about Gideon, he said, God qualifies the called. He doesn't call the qualified.
Yeah.
And here's Gideon, who, for folks who don't know the story. He's this little old guy. He's kind of Mr. Nobody, with respect. He's on the threshing room floor, hiding away, just providing for his family. And the angel of the Lord shows up and goes in Judges 6:12, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior.
Yeah.
That to me was like, gosh, that could be me.
Yeah.
He didn't even know he was going to be this military hero. And he tried his best to avoid it, remember? Okay?
Right.
But God stayed on him. And I can imagine you in your industry too, because it's got to be nerve-wracking and stuff to get up in front of thousands of people and respond to your calling. Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. I feel like I relate very much to Gideon this, which that we were even talking earlier. I feel like there's a lot of my own life I can see in all these guys. But there's so many times I get up and I think like, Lord, why am I doing this? Like, why did you put me out here in front of people? And I can close my eyes and sing, and even sing the things that I felt the Lord has given me. And if I'm not looking, I can like pretend like I'm by myself and just do that. Yeah. But there's something about like when it comes to sharing and speaking, and I felt like initially I was like, Lord, I don't feel like I'm a good speaker. I just don't feel I don't feel qualified for this. Like there's plenty of other people who are great communicators. Can I just like sing? Can I just do that and share my songs? I'll write and sing, but the older I get, the more and more I feel like the Lord like pushes me out into where I have to like rely on him essentially, and not on my talents or my strengths. And man, that's Gideon. And I love even too how he like so many times, because I see myself doing this. There's so many times that he's like, okay, I'll do it, but what if you do this? And you're
preaching to the choir.
I'm always like that. I'm like, let me see a sign, God. If I'll wake up like, if I see 11:11 on the clock, then I'll know it's you, or something crazy like that, But I also love how loving the Lord is to like, he actually honors some of those, he's like, all right, well, here you go. But then it comes to a certain point where it's like, okay, now you're just going to have to trust me. You're just going to have to step out. And this faith is going to actually require you to trust my promises. Essentially, it's like what
brilliant.
The Lord's saying.
I mean, 11:11 on the clock. That's nothing compared to Gideon going, I was looking for dew on the mat and not dew on the sun.
Right. Yeah, he got very specific with the Lord.
He really did. And I feel like, God's got such a great sense of humor. And again, this is about leadership, right? Because he would become a leader. But God's like, no, you don't need 30,000 guys. You need to narrow this down to 300 so I can show off how mighty I am through you.
Yeah. Yeah. So real. I mean, I love that. I love that it's, applying it to our own life. I think about it again. If I say anything good, or if anything comes out of a night or a service, or the Lord does something, like I feel like there's so many chances for me to be able to look back and be like, well, that had to be the Lord. The Lord is so good. He's so
no joke.
kind.
I got to share this, and I'm not trying to sound pious or anything like this, because here I find myself, and I'm sure you get the same sort of thing when you perform around the world. I'm on a crew with titans in the golf industry, and then there's little old me.
Yeah.
And then you get your airtime and stuff, and obviously you're nervous at times or whatever, but before everyone I try and pray, and I'm just like trying to make myself available as a leadership lesson.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I don't like to listen to myself. I don't know how you are.
Yeah.
I guess you have to.
I don't like to listen to myself talk. Like I'm used to hearing me sing, so that doesn't bother as much. But yeah, speaking, because then I'm like, am I really that country, that southern?
Well, look, I can't sing, so I only get to talk. And sometimes I listen back and I'm like, gosh, that was quite smart.
Yeah.
And it's like I surprise myself. And it's almost like that Gideon moment or any of these heroes where it's like, I was just available as a leader.
Yeah.
And God used me in some sort of a way to achieve one or other end.
Yeah. I love that. It makes me think of there's this pastor that I used to hear at this university that I went to for 2 years before I dropped out.
Okay.
But that's a whole other podcast.
We'll do that.
But I remember this one thing he used to say, because I grew up hearing, Lord, use me, Lord, and that was like a prayer. And he was like, why don't we pray, Lord, make me usable? Because when I get into a place of really just letting go and being usable, he's going to use me. He's going to use you. And so that's what I thought about. Like, oh, yeah, just make me usable, God.
You know what? We can stop the show right now. You've just dropped the nugget there, Joe. that is the big one. So Gideon, incredible story, a great leader in the end. But like you say, he was like, all right, after all the questions, I'm going to trust you, God, and now make me usable. And he was.
Yeah.
One of Israel's great judges as well. Yeah. Okay, let's get back into order here because, again, the song Made for More, which is my favorite, and I'm not just saying this because you're on this call with me, because it speaks to me. It speaks to my soul. Gideon was made for more. All right, so let's go to episode 1. Here's Joseph. All
right,
multicolored coat, sold into slavery by his brothers because he was a little brash and obnoxious. We've all done that.
Right.
Then into slavery, gets the basically the run of Potiphar's palace, gets accused of something he didn't do, but he held his own. Then he was thrown in jail for a long time. And through this whole Joseph story, because in the end, he gets at the end of it all to show grace to his brothers who did him wrong. And he was a leader of Egypt, second in command under Pharaoh. As I look at Joseph, I personally, because I've taught golf since 1996, like for ages now, 54 and hanging on. And there were many, many days in the Georgia heat where I would give lessons and I'd be sweating my buns off.
Yeah.
But something inside, I felt like I was made for more. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, broadcast comes along and here we are. Okay. So serendipitous, blessed. But looking back, that time in the Georgia heat on the driving range, giving lessons to club golfers, sort of uniquely equipped me for what I get to do now because it taught me a style of communication where as a TV announcer, I look wide and I tell you stuff you don't see. So the point that I get from Joseph is, here's this guy that so much bad stuff happened to him and so much good stuff happened to him. But during his jail time, that's when he was still in service and he almost became more reliant on God. Instead of being the youngster going, yo, man, I'm going to be the best and you're going to bow to me and all the rest of this. He's like, God, here I am in jail. And there's a baker and a winemaker or whatever they were. And I'm going to interpret their dreams and hopefully that turns into something. So I'm going to be in service to you. That was my takeaway from Joseph. And I feel like there's a real life lesson of kind of being in service to people when times are hard.
Yeah. Oh, so true. I thought the funny thing you said all that, I thought the same thing when I'm reading back about Joseph. I was thinking I was a worship pastor, this little church in the mountains of North Carolina.
Okay.
Back in my 20s, single, looking for my wife. Like, Lord, you promised me, a family, and this is all I wanted. I wanted to be a full-time worship leader and have a family. And here I was leading worship, but I was also doing like 2 or 3 other jobs, living in the middle of nowhere. And I remember pacing like this dirt road next to my house and just praying for the Lord, like, Lord, you've given me all these promises. I've had these dreams. I've had people speak into my life that I'm going to be doing this one day, but it doesn't look like that right now. Like you get so worried, or at least I did, like try to make things happen on my own. And, I just kept thinking, I just hear the Lord like saying, like, listen, I put you here for this season, and I want you to focus on this. I want you to essentially like pastor the people and the things in your life in this season, and let me like pastor your dreams, or water this garden over here. And just trust my plan. And that's Joseph. Like all these dreams, all these things the Lord's given to him. And then, maybe in his brash confidence / cockiness, I don't know, he decides to share him with his brothers, and that doesn't end well. But the ability he has to hold on to those things, like in the prison and in those moments, like actually still keep serving. Like, okay, well, this is where you have me, Lord, so I'm gonna serve you here. And that means, ministering to, dreams and all this. Like, I'm gonna do that here. And then in every little step, like the Lord just keeps promoting him. And it's just such a great picture of the Lord's faithfulness, but also like how Joseph, like, he had so many chances to give up. He's like, I've seen these dreams, I've seen these promises, and they're not coming about. Then why, God? Like, I don't, he had so many opportunities to not believe the Lord. And I love his the ability he had the ability to just be faithful to the Lord. And let me say too, the fact that like when he does see his brothers and he like offers compassion and love when
that's big.
Like, I mean, I know it would be hard for me not to just bring the hammer down on them. Like, well, look who's the boss now,
Exactly.
And just the fact that he walked through all that he walked through, and he still had the love of the Lord in him to show towards his family, and to look at it as, look at how great the Lord is to put me in this position to be able to help my family in this season of drought and any other time they were going through.
Because he basically saved the Israelite nation with that.
Yeah. And maybe that does, and maybe he's not even in that position had his brothers not even sold him. It's such a great story and lesson to learn that how the Lord turns things for his good. So much so that you're like, did you plan like it's like that worked out so well. Like, how could it have been better if I hadn't have gone through this horrible things? And the Lord's just so good. He's so faithful.
It's cool. And as you're speaking, you sort of jog something inside of me, and I keep on hearing, faithful with a little before you get much.
Yeah.
Because when you start to get a lot of stuff, I'd like you to speak about this. That's when temptation and challenges and stuff double down. Everyone thinks when they got a little, life is going to be easier. If sometimes it isn't.
No, and I think there's something about hard times that pull you closer to the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, not that I don't have hard times now or they don't come along here and there, but like, I think I'm often looking back to some of those hard seasons and not wanting the hard season, but in some ways longing for the closeness that I felt to the Lord in those seasons.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And, I think that's a good thing to remember when we are maybe walking in the promises, to also make sure that we are still keeping that closeness with the Lord.
You know what? You should get into a sideline as a motivational / biblical teacher, because you're pretty good at this stuff.
Oh, wow. That you're the first person to ever say that. I receive it.
Well, I was made for this moment. Let's move along. There's so many heroes in the Bible. Of them all, David is my favorite.
Yeah.
The shepherd king. And the reason why is he's such a hero, David, but he's just still so human. And despite all the misgivings, God called him a man after my own heart. Mm-hmm. And if you read David's story, it's kind of checkered. And here's another thing quickly. I digress. Here recently, my wife Tracy and I watched a series on TV which was called House of David.
Yes,
and I thought it depicted the story beautifully, and how he gets anointed by Samuel over all the handsome, strong brothers who were supposed to be, and he's anointed the future king. Then he's sent back into the fields to be a shepherd for many, many more years.
Yeah,
and his shining moment happens, of course, when he takes down Goliath.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast, a golf show on this, the golf lessons you could learn from David. It was about preparation and rehearsal and picking the right equipment because he took time selecting the right pebbles and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But in House of David, this undersized, unassuming hero who was going to be the future king of Israel, he had this interaction with his girlfriend. I don't know if this was biblical, but she said, "Aren't you scared?" And he goes, "I'm terrified, but God is with me. I'm going to do this anyway."
Yeah.
And there's such a life lesson in this, because how many times, Josh, are you like terrified or scared, but you're like, okay, this is who I am. I was made for more. It's time to now step into my role.
Oh yeah. No, it's so many times. I almost feel like in some seasons, like, if I'm not terrified to do this, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, like sometimes I'm like, Lord, is this the right path? Because I feel like this might feel too easy to me, or I feel like I've got this under my own strength, maybe to even pull it back to Gideon. But like sometimes I want that bit of like nervousness, just so that I'm like forced to like trust in the Lord and step out in faith. And man, yeah, David, such a crazy faith, and just a heart after the Lord, but also, and you can see it in the fact that he's just like, yeah, I can take on this huge Goliath man. Like, I'll do it. Yeah. Like just like stepping out, but still so tender, even to like, I mean, I'm a worship leader. He's
the ultimate worship hero.
Yeah. I mean, he's the father of the worship movement, and I love that he shows how you can be like a mighty man. He was a mighty king. He defeated Goliath, but then also he's over here known for like soothing Saul by playing music. And it says he drove the evil spirits away from Saul. And I look at that as like what I do. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm called to do that with the guitar. I feel like that's the thing on my life, to like be able to play music, to worship, to lead songs, to write songs that help drive away, the evil spirits from people or whatever, and so I love that he is both a strong man, but also in touch with the just the sensitive side of just like following the Spirit and knowing the Lord. And he, the Psalms are, I mean, I wrote my first song copying David and from the Psalms. I love how honest he is. He goes from one song to just like, glory to the Lord, giving all praise to the Lord, and just, you are mighty, you are strong. And then the next psalm, he's just like, where are you, God?
No, he was so real. And you talk about,
he was so real
for leaders. All right. We told that Christianity is a relationship with your Savior, Jesus, and with the Holy Spirit. And you're right. You read the Psalms and David's like, dude, God, are you serious about this stuff? I mean, really, now where are you? And then a few stanzas later, then he's like, oh, you're the greatest, you're my strong and mighty for, and then he goes, he changes his mind so quickly.
I love that. And I think, I'm like, maybe, is that why he was called a man after God's heart? Because he's actually, he's okay with just being honest and vulnerable and real with the Lord, and having a conversation and walking with him and just sharing his ups and downs and being really honest, until he wasn't, until he lied about
Bathsheba.
Like I wrote here, I was like, David was so honest with the Lord until he wasn't. Ha ha ha.
Well, I want your take here. Keeping David in mind, because leaders aren't just leaders of businesses and whatever it is, and they're husbands and wives watching this that are leaders of families, and there's team leaders and stuff. I would say in the era in which we find ourselves, Josh, like real authenticity, real honest, like this is who I am. It's becoming a thing of the past, because with social media, we'll put our best veneer and our foot forward all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's really tough. And no, that's so true. No one sees, you only see the best parts of everyone.
What we learn on
social media. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's something to that. And you know what? On the other end, people are so drawn to someone who's real and vulnerable, because I think it's it's so much harder to see. It's just when you do see someone who is just vulnerable, but also just real about their relationship with the Lord too, you latch onto it because you're like, oh yeah, I don't see that enough. I need to be a part of that. And David was like the original, I think.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, honestly, my hero, for the reasons you list, for that human element to him. It's not like, so often you read about these heroes and one for me for the longest time till I dived into this stuff and you said, hey man, I'm reading these stories more. When I started this, it's like, dang, I've got to spend some time in the Bible here. So because it's easy for me to vamp about golf. I cannot vamp about this subject. So, but I remember, all these guys were those little felt images on the felt board in Sunday school.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. But then when I dive into the stuff and then you sort of don't just read the story, but you look at the character. Like David is just a guy. These are all just guys over here. And the heroines of the faith, the same thing. There was something inside of them that they responded to. And then their personality developed with God's leading. Are you feeling where I'm going here?
Totally. Yes. And I was saying this earlier too, the more I read these stories and brush up on them, I do think about going back to learning about them as a kid, but then now being, in my mid 40s and I've lived life enough to see what they went through and apply it to my own life. I'm like, oh yes, of course he struggled with this. Like, yeah, I don't feel worthy ever, or I don't feel called to this. And I'm always questioning the Lord about things. Like, of course, Gideon went through that. Of course, David had struggles here and there and trusting the Lord sometimes, it's been so good to actually do this and go back to this. And because being a songwriter, I'm just like finding so many little nuggets and things to like, oh yeah. We don't have him on the list here, but I wrote a song about Abraham years ago.
Well, he's coming. He's a future Greater Call podcast.
All right. Give me a call back. Let's.
Well, look, I'm so glad you would say that because in a way, not that I'm looking for validation, but it's good to hear because I do believe that everything for life is in the Bible, including, and it's not just like Proverbs and the 10 Commandments and stuff, but it's actually diving into the lives of these people. Anyway, and we'll eventually end this whole thing with Jesus, the ultimate leader. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get to the unshakable mission, Paul.
Oh.
I mean, this guy's I can imagine Paul being a complete lunatic. All right. I love the way he would say, and don't take that wrong. I love the way he would say, to the Romans, I'm a Roman. To the Greeks, I'm a Greek. So he would find a way to communicate with each and every one of them. And he wasn't like, this is how it's going to be. He would talk to you in your language and respect your custom. He called himself the Jew of all Jews, and I persecuted Jews. But the thing about Paul was that once has the encounter with God Almighty, and then he was never the same. And it's like this guy was on mission, and he had one mission: get shipwrecked, snake bitten, thrown in jail. In jail, singing praises to the Lord. How hard is it going to be to sing praises to the Lord if they toss you in jail for a little? Think about this dude on mission. He was the ultimate missionary, and that's what I respect so much about the man and about his leadership style. He was on brand.
He was. I imagine he was like intense, just because well, first of all, before he met the Lord, he's intense in the other way. And, and Christianity's ultimate enemy in some ways, and then to have that massive transformation and it not just be like, I had a moment and, I still like life changing. I'm changing my name. And now I'm the opposite direction. So much so that, I'm just like head down. Nothing's going to shake me. I'm thrown in prison. I'll praise my way out of there. We're going to keep the mission going. So much so too that he's like, hey, I'm not married. And I would suggest maybe you don't get married either. Cause that's, he's just like, I'm focused on one thing and it's preaching the gospel. And that is like, that's I mean, it's intense and it's inspiring, and no wonder he wrote, so many letters that are in the Word, and we carry to this day.
Here's a question. This is just an opinion take, and this has just popped in my head.
Yeah.
And I ask this of you because you're a famous singer-songwriter. Everyone should be listening to my favorite song, gospel song. Do you ever wonder if it's actually resonating, if you don't look at record sales like that? Because I asked this question bearing Paul in mind. Because do you ever think that this guy was going, I'm going to pen 3/4 of the New Testament, when he's just writing letters to
he's just
churches.
Writing to the churches. Yeah.
So I'd love your take there.
Wow. That's such a great question. I mean, yeah, I wonder if things are resonating and if people are being moved and inspired and moved to know the Lord more through songs. I think sometimes it's easy to look at the numbers and how things are doing. It's easy for me to see how songs like Made for More are touching people. That's it's done really well. Just the numbers would show that it's touching people. But I know the message behind it. And like I said earlier, like I know how much it has touched my own family 2 years before I ever released it into the world. And I think some of that is like, even in songs, when I write songs, it's when I'm writing this, I'm like, if this is moving me, and if this is coming out of just the overflow of my heart and my time with the Lord, then I do feel like it's going to reach people and it's going to touch people. I feel like there's a reason I'm writing this. There's something to it. And no matter whether you hear back or not, you just have to trust the Lord that, and also I'm a worship leader. And if this is just me and my offering to the Lord, then that's going to be enough too. That needs to be enough. Like, this is just an offering to the Lord. But, yeah, Paul, I mean, you'd think he would have thought like, okay, one day this is going to be the Word of God, the Bible, and you're going to have probably most of it it's going to be these letters that you wrote. Like,
and I don't think,
could you imagine?
And I don't believe, I've not found this in the Bible, that he knew this at the time. He was just staying on mission.
Yeah.
Just legacy. Yeah. Yes.
Just encouraging people.
Yeah. And like what you do, it's legacy moves. Like your music is going to outlive you. Paul's messages outlived Paul. And part of leadership is leaving this legacy for the next generation. He is, if there was the ultimate leader, I would almost call it this guy, but he didn't act like it. He was just like, I'm on to go and try and impact and serve somebody else. There's always a mission.
Yeah. I love that you said ultimate, because I wrote down Paul, the ultimate Christian.
Yeah.
Which is, again, the transforming power of the Lord to turn him from what he was into this. Like, just
from stoning, from stoning believers, people followers of the way, to
responsible for the first martyr to now responsible for most of the Bible and changing the lives of believers for history.
If you just think, if you just take a moment, like in Psalms, Selah, and you just consider that, and you just think about that, it's like it's a miracle in itself.
It is. It's enough to like help anyone who's ever been discouraged or worried that they're not good enough or not enough, or they're past, they're tending graves. It's enough to like show you like, no, the Lord can do anything. The Lord can use you. It's powerful. It's the gospel.
Wherever you are, even the threshing floor.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to move along. I'm keeping you too long. Right.
Oh no, I'm good.
I could go on forever. Faithful Existence. It was episode 4. It's about Noah. And here's where I wanted your take, because the thing that jumped out to me in Noah, and it's amazing, you know how the algorithm gets you, right? So after I'm doing all this reading and talking about this stuff, and there's a podcast, I'm getting more and more of the stuff fed to me. And it's all of these accounts where it's like, oh, the proof of the ark, it's in terms of the way the thing balanced was borderline miraculous.
Yeah.
And then, and no one considers the size of this thing they built single-handedly. Anyway, it took him 100 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Noah, to me, the thing that I admire the most in all leaders or all people that have any sort of a voice or are at the top of any organization, be it big or small, he had an incredible ability to ignore the haters. Because I can only imagine in the middle of the desert, building a boat with all this hedonism and debauchery going on around him. They must have ripped on him daily, man. Yet somehow he just kept doing his thing. He was full of faith and ignored the haters.
He was, I've, you know, what's funny there's a song that I remember years ago. I can't remember who I want to say it was by this great band PFR, but they had a song about Noah. And the whole thing started out, Noah, 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 everybody's talking about you. and that's all I remember. Anytime I hear Noah or we're talking about that, it just goes through my head. Everybody. And so when we were writing and you were talking about ignore the haters, that song in my head, I was like, yeah, for 100 years, everybody's talking about you. And just the obedience and faith that Noah has to just head down like, nope, this is what the Lord showed me. This is the last thing I heard him say. So I'm going to keep doing this until I hear him say something else. You know, that is, there's a level of faith and obedience that I would love to get close to, but I know, I mean, for me it's hard for me just to make it personal. It's so easy for me to want the opinion of others. And not just like, there's something to like ignoring the opinion so you can keep head down, you know, just focus on what the Lord would give you. I'm on the other end. Sometimes I want opinions too much. I want to hear like, what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about, you know, what, but to be able to like, you know, have some godly wisdom, like some influence and all that's good. But to also just know that what the Lord has given you is from him. So much so that it doesn't matter what everybody's saying and doesn't matter what people think about you, and to just keep going and keep down the path that the Lord's led you. That's pretty amazing.
It is. And I want to say this too, because, you know, look, it's wise to seek counsel of people. Right. I would say seek counsel of the correct people. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Godly people, leaders would be a good start. The Bible would be a good start. You know, looking into these folks. But then I want to say too, because we live in an age where we will say, well, someone will package it like, well, I'm just being realistic. I'm a realist.
Right. Yes.
Where
so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realism with like the Noah story, that went out the window, man. It's like, and that's the challenge, don't you think, for the leader who's got this, let's call him Josh, who's got this song in mind, and I'm going to put this thing out there. And someone goes, Josh, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah.
But you know that you see, that's where like people bring this opinion, where sometimes the opinion is largely self-serving for them. So seeking out the counsel from the right people, I guess, is where I'm getting with this.
Yes. Well, and some people are speaking out of their own fear. Because they're like, I would never do that. So let me just encourage you to maybe like think about, you know, and that's great. Maybe you wouldn't. I feel like I've heard from the Lord, and there is the wisdom and you need to have a relationship with the Lord to know when it's the Lord is like saying to stay in my word, or maybe he is bringing someone to you to like help pull you back into the right lane, so to speak. But there's so many things that my family and I, my wife and I, we've made big decisions in our life that didn't make sense. And we had a lot of people like, no, you shouldn't move from North Carolina
to
all the
California
way to California
to join Bethel.
Like, you shouldn't. What are you thinking? Your whole family's on the East Coast. And we just knew that this was the Lord, and we were supposed to do this. And it changed my whole life. And I just, but I needed my wife.
Well, that's wise counsel. Huh?
That's wise counsel.
Faithful existence. Let's move along. Joshua, the learned leader. And yes, we did, Kyle and I, do Joshua before Moses in the series of podcasts. And the thing that I loved about Joshua, I remember as a kid, my dad gave me a book. Can't remember the author, but the title was living in the land of giants, being a grasshopper in the
Wow.
land of giants, right?
Yeah.
And something to that effect. And the thing about Joshua always was he happened to have this way about him when he was sent on the scouting mission, and this resonated with me, where
Yeah.
there were 12 scouts. 2 of them come back with a positive report, Joshua and Caleb, and the other come back with bad news. There's giants out there. We look like grasshoppers compared to them. We're never going to make it. Why do we waste 40 years in the desert? Blah, blah, blah. Moses, you just let us down, kind of thing. And it's all doom and gloom. And Joshua and Caleb go, man, the place is loaded with milk and honey. And they're grapes like as high as an elephant's eye, and we can't wait to get in there. And it's like, it's this mindset, Josh, of, looking at a bad situation, but finding the good.
Yeah.
And Joshua seemed like he was a master at that.
Yes. I wrote that down. I was like, I need to be more like Josh, more like my namesake.
There you
go. I love that about him, and because it's so easy. I know for me I'm this person in my marriage. Like, I'm the one that, like, I look at all the things. I'm like, well, here's all the things that could happen, not good. Like, let's, I don't know if I want to do this because of, and I list all the, the bad things or the things that are not great. And my wife's like, no, but look, here's the good in this. And I see his story and I'm like, man, I would have probably been one of the 10 who came back like, listen, these guys are huge and there's a lot of them and that wall's massive. And he just like comes back like, we can do this. Like, this is the land that the Lord's given us. And it might not look like it to these other guys, but, and I love too that I remember growing up, this was probably my favorite scripture because his name was Joshua and that's my name.
So yours is not a stage name. This is your name is that cool.
This is my real name. It's that cool.
I'm jealous. All right.
I remember like for years, my favorite scripture was like Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded
strong and courageous?
Be strong and courageous.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was even just that because it was like, that's a cool verse and it's in Joshua. So I'm just going to tell people that. And then, but then growing up and reading, I'm like, man, the Lord is just throughout that whole, that book and just, it's just encouraging and like telling him, be strong and courageous. And, because, we're going into this land, we're taking this land where it's so easy to look into where you're going and see reasons to not be courageous or reasons to run, reasons to fear.
Yeah.
And so he's just like constantly getting reminded by the Lord, no, be strong. Here's why I'm giving you the strength, because you're going to go take this land.
I love that Bible verse. I wrestle with it because here's the reality. You know what I've realized at 54 years and thriving. I'm going to speak in faith. Yeah. If I'm praying to be strong and courageous, I'm going to get put in more and more situations where I have to be strong and courageous. Because it's not like you get this heavenly helping of strength and courageous.
That's so true.
Yes, God saying to Joshua, not going, there's you helping of strong and courageous. It's like, you go be strong and courageous. And I'm like, if you sign up for this, you're going to face some turbulent waters, but you were made for more and you can handle it.
Totally. Yes. Yeah, that's the other side of that. When you're getting told be strong, there's probably a reason that you need to be strong and courageous.
Well, it's like you go, like I live in the South like you do, and you go to the houses and we've all got Bible verses on our walls, and like as for my house, we'll follow the Lord. We got that right. It's my wife. And be strong and courageous. Yeah. I'm like, so we all got it. And it makes this cool wall hanging. But as an attitude, as a leader, to be strong and courageous is kind of it's getting down and dirty. It's the nitty gritty of it all.
It is. It really is.
All right. Speaking of Bible verses, when it comes to Moses, I don't know about you. I don't know if you as the musician have tattoos. I don't.
You know what? I don't. And everyone is shocked to know that I don't have a tattoo. I know. My wife has tattoos.
She's got the coolest tattoo on her arm. I saw that.
She's got amazing tattoos. Yeah.
If I had a tattoo, Josh, it would be on my right wrist over here, right there.
Yeah.
Because when I hold a microphone, when I'm announcing on courses with my right hand. And so it'd be on the inside of my wrist, and it would say Exodus 4:10 through 12. And I'm going to read that to you. And this is the thing about Moses. that really speaks to my soul. Because now Moses is called by God. He wasn't qualified. He was called. He was made for more. He didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Okay? And so God says to him, remove his shoes. You're standing on holy ground. It's the burning bush. And Moses is like, okay, here I am, Lord. And he goes, right, you're going to lead my people out of slavery in Egypt. And Moses immediately goes, who, me? No. And then it goes, verse 10, Exodus 4. Moses says to the Lord, this is the NIV, pardon your servant, Lord, says at least he's polite. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. Now, me, I tend to get excited and stutter when I go too fast, right? And I don't breathe like a good singer would. Then in verse 11, the Lord says right back to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? It is not I, the Lord. Now go, and I will help you speak and teach you what to say. Wow. Now that little group of verses there has sort of been the anchor to my entire broadcasting career, whether it's podcasting or television or radio or whatever it is, where every time, I like to say every time before I go on the air, I'm like, all right, Lord, you made my mouth. Give me the words. I'm going to make myself available. Kind of just like Moses. Now, again, I'm not trying to seem like I'm all big time over here. But as far as Moses went, there was this, I don't know, obedience about him. Once he got the marching orders and God said, off you go, he dug his heels in and said, no, I can't still. And he said, well, Lord goes, I'll send Aaron with you.
Right.
But still, here's a guy that was so obedient through all those years in the desert, in the valley experience. But where he turns around and the Lord goes, I made your mouth. Go and speak.
Yeah.
Now, to a singer, it's real for you.
Yeah, it is. That's so good. I'm gonna make that my first tattoo as well. let's get them together.
My right wrist. But you can't see it when you're playing a guitar, though. So
I know. I'm trying to think of which one to go on. I resonate so much with Moses in this, and I think so many of us can. Is that it goes back to the thing I've heard all through life. My dad's a pastor, and I've heard so many other pastors say, like, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I mean, Moses is probably the reason that's even a thing, that we even say that. I mean, he is like the ultimate, I can't do this, I'm not a speaker, and send, like, bring Aaron, do all these things, and then look what he does, and he delivers the people out. And I think there's so many times in my life where I'm feeling the same, like, Lord, I don't feel qualified to do this. I don't, I remember I've talked to my wife just recently, a couple weeks ago. I was like about to go lead worship at this event, and it was a big thing. And I was like, babe, I just don't feel like I'm like qualified to do this, or I can't, how do I say it? I feel like I forgot how to do this in some ways, is what I said. Just so funny. I've done that a lot this year. I mean, it's not like I haven't led worship in the last 2 years. Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden I'm like, it was probably just a week before that. And I just I was having this moment where I don't feel like I even remember how to do, all this. And it's, my wife is like, we sit down and she's obviously just speaking the promises of the Lord, like, remember who you are, and just funny. You wrote a song about this.
Yeah, exactly.
You should go back and read that song. But I just love how faithful the Lord is, and how funny the Lord is to be like, yeah, I'm going to go grab Moses, who doesn't think he's good at speaking, who doesn't think he's good at this, and I'm going to use him to pull people out. And again, we talked about it with Gideon. The Lord it shows up in our weakness, and it is strong, and it's so
and not
beautiful.
just take people out of Egypt to Israel. Take on the most powerful man in the universe in Pharaoh at that stage, countless times.
and just stand and have the ability to do the thing that he didn't think he could do, and stand up and speak and be a strong, mighty man of God. It's such a good verse. I mean, I just keep thinking about what you just read, and that's like, okay, wow, I need that. I need to hear that.
Well, Exodus 4:10 through 12. All right, 4. I've kept you for a very long time, so we need to sign off. And I'm going to give you the final statement. Very wise man wrote this. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Now, I heard that song a number of times, and it didn't settle until one day it hit me in my middle of my forehead. And that is freedom from everything, disease, but to me, more than anything else, freedom from the battles we have inside of our mind.
Yeah.
So sign us off with some insight from that lyric from that song of yours, please.
Well, I love that you said that, because I think growing up, even in church and leading worship, I heard that verse in scripture in context of like freedom in worship. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom in worship, and which is true. But when we were writing that song, I was like, I really thought about that. Like, not just that. No, I need freedom. People need freedom, and they need healing. They need breakthrough and deliverance through, their past mistakes. They need freedom in the stronghold. We put that line in there too. Like, every stronghold has to break.
And I love that you say every stronghold has to break.
Yes. That has no option. Like, so cool. Fear has no option but to leave when the love of the Lord draws near. And so, I think that's what that lyric and that song was to me, was saying, this isn't just about like actually worshiping, but it's actually in our whole life, in every part of our life, that when we invite the Lord in, he brings freedom, and where he is, there's liberty. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants, to be close to us, because he wants a relationship with us, but he also wants us to be free from the things that are holding us back and keeping us from him. And that song's been such a great reminder of that to me.
Love you, brother. Okay, here's Josh Baldwin. We've been talking about Made for More of the song. There's another one, Evidence. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life. If you choose to look at that thing, again, that's a mindset shift. And of course, where the Spirit of the Lord is, I think the name of the song is Freedom. Tell folks,
there's freedom.
Tell folks where they can find you, Josh, if they've been sleeping under a rock, where they get the music, where's the social media and such, please.
You can, I'm on Instagram like everyone else, probably. I'm just Josh Baldwin. There's joshbaldwin.com. I'm on everywhere you listen to music. You could probably even find my music for free out there if you look hard enough. And I actually have new music coming out.
Yes. Tell us.
Can you? I can. I have a song. It's actually an EP that I just recorded a month ago. 5 songs of just kind of like storyteller songs about the Lord, about Jesus. And they weren't necessarily in the vein of like, I can lead these on a Sunday morning and worship. And they weren't necessarily down the other lane like Christian radio is going to necessarily play them. Maybe they will. That'd be awesome if they did.
That'd be nice. Come on, K-Love Radio, if you're listening.
Yeah, come on, K-Love.
Come on, K-Love.
But there were just these songs that I felt like they sound like I'm from North Carolina, and they sound like a guy from North Carolina writing songs about Jesus. And I've just been so pumped to record them. I've been sitting on some of them for 5 years. And they're coming out in September 5th. And the first single, it's called Salvation Song. It comes out August 1st. But just so pumped. It's called, actually the whole album is called Full Grown Man. And which is a song that I wrote about Jesus and how he's an old soul. He's a full grown man at a real young age. Wow. And it was more of a down the line of the conversations that we've been having here, just about people in the Bible. And I love writing about characters in the Bible. And
well, I am thrilled that you would come and tell people about that on this little show that's growing. This was in 2025, if you are listening down the track some. So go and search for Josh. Josh, Man, thank you. Having
Thank
you
you
on
so
was
much.
honestly the thrill of a lifetime, and getting to unpack this stuff with a kindred spirit was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. This is such an honor, and love being here talking about this with you.
And for the rest of you, I appreciate you downloading, and go and share this with your friends, please. Please remember, follow us on Instagram and on X at The Greater Call, or subscribe on YouTube to see all the episodes. Because this thing exists just to help you through life, to be a better leader, better father, better mother, whatever it might be. Because there's no better place than to learn from the heroes of our faith. Be full of joy. Go and be a legend.